All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we're doing chapter 4, and it's called the 96 Carat Chivor Emerald, and the title is Blaze the Path. But before we get started, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and all of our new subscribers. We have a ton more, so I appreciate all of you. So, that being said, Laura's going to start us off with some nugget infos that she's found, and if we have time for it, we will get to some pretty cool things that we saw in the pictures. And I can't wait to share that. So, Laura, what do you got?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I was excited about this chapter. I felt like I saw some interesting things that I'm looking forward to talking with you about. Um, but here is like a random occurrence. So I had not yet looked at the chapter. And this morning we were just chit chatting over breakfast. And I happened to, in the context of what we were talking about, quote this to you. Two two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And then we were joking around about it, whatever. And then I sat down to read the chapter today, and I could not believe that that was the quote.
It's a
I had to
sign.
memorize that back in junior high. Um, and so I knew it. And so anyways, I loved that we had already talked about that verse in the Robert Frost poem this morning. But I think it is twofold in terms of him choosing that verse. Obviously, the theme throughout this is people blazing their own path or taking their own way or going outside of the norm. And that's what made their lives, quite extraordinary and interesting. But it also made me wonder, is there a correlation to the location of the box? Because if you think about being along a wooded path, and it might be a path that many people take, right? A trail that many people go on. But then you get to a point in the trail where there's a leg off of it that few people take. And that would have been a more appropriate place to hide the box because we don't want it right on this, massive trail that everybody's going down, but to tuck it off a side, arm or leg off of
Yeah.
a larger trail, that felt compelling to me.
Yeah, no, it's a good point because you know how recently we did a review of that interview with John Collins Black on the Quarter Hoarder, and he said how some of the boxes are covered in chapters that do wordplay, and some are more puzzles and stuff. Where the larger box, as he refers to it, not the lion's share, larger box. Um, this could be like a type of wordplay. Not every clue that we're going to find is going to be a directional clue, like specific directional clue, right?
Right.
So yeah, this could be one of those hints, or it's keeping up with the theme, right? It's like every chapter has its own theme to it, and the themes are supposed to help us search and eventually, hopefully, find this box. So yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Where that could be, because he doesn't really give us a lot of other. I mean, I don't. You'll cover some things that you saw and things like that, but not every chapter is going to have some really obvious, you know, thing pop right out and show it to us. So these are the things that we really have to be looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think you felt like not a ton in this chapter, but I actually felt like there was some significant word, name clues within this chapter. So let's dive into a few of those.
Yeah, because of course you were reading Robert Frost in junior high while I was digging in the dirt. looking for rocks.
Right, exactly. We bring the two different perspectives, which is
Yes, you're my Michael
awesome.
Scott.
All right. So I loved how he set up the story about Rob Lavinsky. What an interesting,
Yeah.
interesting man. And even as a child, like so incredibly focused and thoughtful about just his passion. And I loved how he built up this incredible business just by observing at a really young age what was going on around him, and kind of improving what, and just exploding out this kind of niche market or industry. But so I was reading his story and really, kind of drawn into it. And I noticed that he was from Columbus, Ohio. And I remember you mentioning Ohio a couple of times as people thinking could potentially be in Ohio. And I remember us chatting back and forth. I'm like, Ohio, who would hide anything in Ohio? Like, who wants to go to Ohio?
No
No,
offense to our friends that
no
live in
offense to
Ohio, of
Ohio.
course. I have family
We
that
just
lives there,
happen,
so yeah.
yes, we just happen to be in the Midwest as well. And whenever I travel, I kind of want to go out of the Midwest. But then you would always remind me there are, gorgeous places to hike in Ohio. So yes, correct. But so is that why some people think Ohio? Is this the Ohio connection, or were there
No, the
other things?
Ohio connection was more towards the past feature box
Oh, okay. Okay.
that I was
All right.
referring to. Right.
Sure. So I was hanging on to Columbus for a little while, and I'm reading through the rest of Rob's story, which was just so charming. And then we get, so hang on to Columbus, Ohio for a bit.
I'm hanging
So
on.
then we get to the image of the flame on page 49. And I know you want to talk about images later, but this is more about the name of it and the underneath the image it talks about what it is and where it's from. The flame from the Red Ridge mine. And so as I was searching, trying to look up where is this Red Ridge mine, because it doesn't say in the book. And then probably many people know this already, I guess, but it was new to us. There isn't a well-known gold mine called the Red Ridge mine. It's likely a typo for the Red Ledge mine in the context of treasure hunts. Let's see, or it could refer to the Red Ridge Mining Company in Oregon, which is documented, blah, 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 as a significant gold producer. The gold specimen mentioned in a treasure hunt context, often mistaken for the Red Ridge mine, is actually from the Red Ledge mine. So, thought that was interesting. The Red Ridge Mining Company is listed in a location of Hunter Creek, Curry County, Oregon, but does not appear to be a gold mine, I think is what I'm reading here. So interesting about all this Red Ridge, Red Ledge. Is it a typo? Is it a deliberate clue?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a shift from the color blue, that's for sure.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. So, you know, I know that he has said, John Collins Black has said, at least on one or more occasions, that typos or errors aren't necessarily clues. They're simply typos.
Yeah, what he said is they weren't he didn't deliberately misspell certain things. And
Okay.
I'd have to look for the exact quote. So no
Right.
quotes here, but yeah, something to that effect.
Right. So, I mean, but this isn't necessarily a misspelling. It's like potentially completely using the wrong
Misinformation.
word. Red
Right.
Ridge versus Red Ledge. So I went down this whole kind of, searching to try to determine locations of Red Ridge stuff, red ledge stuff, gold, trying to find a location. And I got a few hits that I think are worth digging further into. So then I thought I'm going to get back to the book and I'm going to keep, digging in a little bit. And boy, I loved the section about how he studied the world of high end art and began curating exhibits. And this really elevated, the whole industry. And so
Yeah.
he really was a trailblazer in it. And such a cool story. So he says that Rob has left a trail like breadcrumbs for his colleagues to follow. And I love that partly because what do you think of when someone's kind of leaving breadcrumbs along the way? They're trying to bring you to a place to find
Yeah.
something. And so I thought that's a lot like John Collins Black leaving us breadcrumbs in the clues for us to find the treasure. So I thought that that was a nice little fun wordplay,
Yeah.
and that I do need to be looking for these breadcrumbs within this chapter, and throughout the book. But
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
yeah. So then it transitions into that next section of the book, where we're talking about the emerald, right? The 96 carat emerald. And
Which if
so,
I
and,
if we
and,
find it, I'm gonna make a big pendant out of it and put it around my
yeah,
neck in a big gold
could you
chain.
imagine? Yeah, I
Super
want to know
cool.
the scale. Like
Yeah.
someone, we should have gotten measurements with that. Um, and so that brings me back to Columbus, Ohio, and Columbia, where
Ah.
Chivor is
Ooh. Yeah.
located, the mine for the emerald. Uh, and underneath the picture of the emerald, he misspells Columbia. The country of Colombia is Colo, and the city of Columbus within the US, or
Yeah.
like, you know, um, the Columbian mountain range in the US, that's is Colu, like Columbus, Ohio. So yeah, but the country of Columbia is Colo, and it's misspelled in the book.
Huh.
It's
Maybe that
misspelled in the
was
caption,
maybe that was one of those Freudian slips.
right? And then it is also, there are two paragraphs, and I didn't jot down, maybe I did jot down the page. Page 53. There's another misspelling of Columbia. He says the Colombian officials misspelled, and in the very next paragraph he spells it correctly with Colo. So this back and forth, so he spells it correctly in some places, incorrectly in other
Yeah.
places. So it could just be like just typing through and not going back and checking. But you know I can't help but be drawn into this: Columbus, Ohio, um, Columbia, the country. And then as we're reading through this history of emeralds, he talks about cave people, the Egyptians, Cleopatra, Julius Caesar, Augustus Caesar. He's taking us on this journey. And then Isabella and Ferdinand, of course, and how they set out and sent explorers to the New World looking for treasure and gold and wealth. And of course, who is one of the people that they sent? Columbus,
Yeah.
for which Columbia is named, and for
Yeah.
which we have a lot of in the US things named after Columbus. And so we see this kind of trifecta of mentions of
Yeah.
Columbus, Ohio, Columbia, the country, and Columbus, the explorer, all within this chapter.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yes.
then, reading about Columbus and reading about this exploration in the New World for gold and for treasure, he talks just a bit about the myth of El Dorado, which of course was the city of gold, that they had heard, the explorers had heard these legends of the city of gold, and there were tons of explorers that went looking for El Dorado. And as I'm doing my research, there is a red gold mine in California located in El Dorado County.
Whoa.
Uh,
Whoa.
right. And it does make sense. A gold mine and naming it after the county, after El Dorado, like that makes sense, right? There is that connection because El Dorado is a city of gold. And so surely if they had found gold in a place and then it became a county later, they could have named it El Dorado County, right? But I don't think that we can ignore the geographies within this chapter. I think those were the most significant finds that I had within reading this chapter were the geographies.
Boy, it makes my little bits of information seem pure pittance. Yeah, what
Sometimes it hits with you, sometimes it hits with me. It's
I
all good.
I wondered if John Collins Black drives a Cadillac Eldorado. Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Anyway, no, those are all really good. Those are all really good things there because you got a ton more out of it than I did. I picked up some picture clues. And how are we doing on
Yeah.
time here?
So we are, yeah, just about at that. I think getting close to the 20
Oh,
minute
this
mark.
sounds like a
So
maybe next episode.
maybe next, but let me have one closing remark
Yeah, go
because there
ahead.
was
Go ahead.
one last thing in the chapter on page 55 that you highlighted at some point, and then I just took a look at. It said no jungle clearing required to find any of the treasure boxes,
Yeah.
and we just have to always keep that in mind because I know when we were out boots on the ground looking last time, we were talking about that, like,
Yeah.
how much underbrush could it be? Underbrush, it could be, all of that. And so no jungle clearing required to find any of the treasure boxes, I think, is a notable, I mean, not just jungle, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, that's
clearing of
that's a good
brush and
point, and that's
overgrowth.
probably a good question to ask JCB because when we were out on the Appalachian Trail, I mean, unless you went in the fall when everything is dead and you could walk out there, I mean, you would literally have to take a machete and just cut your way through some of that. Now that's it's not saying that's saying we it wasn't in a location we're looking at, so potentially the place that is
Right.
hidden could be some wide open field, right? But then it
Right. Or up
brings
in rocks or something that wouldn't get
yeah,
covered
but to
by
get to the rock, so too, right? Or wherever structure that it's hidden around, or you know,
right.
um,
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely dialogue for another time because you and I have had a lot of great conversation about that
yeah,
kind of like actual boots on the ground and looking and finding the place that the box could be tucked into so that it's not easily discovered. How far would it be off the path? Like sometime we got
yeah.
to unpack all that
Well,
because it's good.
yeah, I got, why don't our viewers comment and if you want, and I'll put a poll up on our posts. If you haven't already, we have a section on the tabs where you have posts, and occasionally I'll put up a poll to get the temperature of things. If you want to see us do a video on us about boots on the ground and discussing more about potential not locations, but ways of the box is hidden, what it's hidden in, things like that, let us know, and we'll do a video on that because Laura and I, when we go on our walks, we have these in depths. I wish I had my camera with me and we could record our whole conversation on the walk. So let us know if you'd like to see that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Well, I think that leaves us up to the end here. So next time, pictures. Pictures tell 1,000 words, and we'll explain
Yes.
what that's all about. So if that's all we have, then thank you for watching again. enjoy your week. We're getting close to the fall, which is pretty nice because weather's going to be good. So, yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.